I'm Eddie Muller. Thanks for joining me for TCM's Classic Christmas Movie Marathon, where, of course, I'm bringing you the noir installment of this week-long holiday festival. From Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1947, a film that takes place during the holiday season. It's Lady in the Lake. I'm an occasional drinker, kind of guy who goes out for a beer and wakes up in Singapore with a full beard. Well, that line may or may not describe me accurately, but it's typical of the wisecracks that were a specialty of writer Raymond Chandler, most of them uttered by his iconic private eye, Philip Marlowe. Our film, Lady in the Lake, is the most unique adaptation ever of a Raymond Chandler novel. By the mid-40s, Raymond Chandler had not only had his first 3 Marlowe novels turned into films at 3 different studios, he'd also earned Oscar nominations for the screenplays of Double Indemnity and The Blue Dahlia, the former written in testy collaboration with Billy Wilder. After seeing the box office receipts for Murder, My Sweet and The Big Sleep, both featuring the character of Philip Marlowe, actor Robert Montgomery convinced MGM to buy the rights to Chandler's latest book, The Lady in the Lake. Montgomery wanted to not only star in it, but direct it, having gotten comfortable in the director's chair after taking over for an ailing John Ford on the 1945 war film They Were Expendable. Montgomery decided to have Chandler, for the first time, write the screenplay for one of his own novels. This was the result. A 173-page opus that is absolutely remarkable for how bad it is. It's got pages and pages of snappy dialogue, but much of it is delivered by characters having nothing to do with the plot. Chandler had virtually no idea how to craft a shootable script. To tidy up the mess, Montgomery hired writer Steve Fisher, who'd been part of the bullpen with Chandler at Black Mask magazine in the 1930s. Chandler still demanded a script credit until he saw the finished product, at which point he demanded his name be removed as one of the screenwriters. Not to say Lady in the Lake is bad. It's just hard to judge as a typical detective movie because it's unlike any other. Everything is seen entirely from Marlowe's point of view in the most elaborate use of subjective camera ever attempted. That same year, Dark Passage, starring Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, used the same technique, but only for a portion of the film. Montgomery goes the whole route, save for a studio-mandated prologue in which the actor explains why, for the following 105 minutes, audiences would only see his handsome mug whenever it was reflected in a mirror. Fortunately, this meant that co-star Audrey Totter became the de facto star of the show, playing every scene directly to the camera, flaunting a pair of the biggest eyes in the business. Totter was pals with Montgomery, and when he asked for her help pulling off this risky project, she couldn't say no, even though she'd been offered the much juicier part of Kitty Collins in The Killers, being made crosstown at Universal. Oh well. Ava Gardner instead landed her breakthrough role opposite Burt Lancaster in that noir classic, while Montgomery lucked out, getting himself a blonde who could make a bishop kick out a stained glass window. Co-starring Lloyd Nolan, Leon Ames, Tom Tully, Jane Meadows, with Elle Mort as the mysterious Crystal Kingsby, here is the singularly strange Lady in the Lake. I noted at the top that Crystal Kingsby was played by Elle Mort. At least that's how she's listed in the credits. But it's a gag, of course. Crystal Kingsby is the Lady in the Lake, and Elle Mort is merely an Americanized phonetic spelling of Elle est morte, which in French means she is dead. Robert Montgomery clearly had fun making this movie. Now, whether he thought it worked or not, the effort he put into this film was extraordinary. MGM's camera department even devised a special dolly for the huge Mitchell camera. It had 4 independently controlled wheels, which allowed it to prowl through studio streets and corridors without the laying of tracks. A seat was rigged for Montgomery at the front of the dolly, allowing him to trade lines with the actors. For the fight scenes, cameraman Paul Vogel used a modified version of a Bell & Howell IMO camera attached to a flexible harness, basically an early version of the now common Steadicam. Now, as for Miss Fromset's comely receptionist, that was Lila Leeds, who a few years down the road would achieve her greatest notoriety by being busted by the LAPD for smoking weed with Robert Mitchum. Their arrests were a scandal, and while Mitchum bounced back after brief jail time, Lila Leeds didn't fare as well. The only acting gig she got after that was starring in the cautionary potboiler Wild Weed, later reissued as She Should Have Said No. Well, that does it for me during this classic Christmas movie marathon. But Noir Alley officially returns next week for a bona fide masterpiece. James Mason stars in the 1947 thriller Odd Man Out, directed by Carol Reed. Until then, happy holidays, everybody.
Next on TCM, alias Boston Blackie, then Cover Up, and later, The Curse of the Cat People. God rest ye merry kitty cats on TCM tonight.